Hey barbecue family, spring is here and I want to show you an easy, straightforward process for doing your ribs on your smoker. Several years ago, the 3-2-1 method became all the rage. That's 3 hours with your ribs on the grill or smoker completely unwrapped, followed by 2 hours wrapped in foil, and then 1 more hour unwrapped in which you might add some barbecue sauce during the last 15-20 minutes. That process was a surefire way to make sure that your ribs came out tender every time, probably great for the guys on the competition circuit. But then we learned and we realized that you don't necessarily have to have your ribs on the smoker for that long following exactly those steps to get a fantastic rib. While wrapping in foil is a foolproof way to ensure that your ribs get tender, the fact that they are sealed inside of that foil, that really changes the way that the rib is cooking. And when it's wrapped tight like that, it actually then begins to steam your ribs. And that works against the bark that you formed during the first few hours of your cook. The simplest and most straightforward way to smoke your ribs is to not wrap them in foil at all. Just leave them on the smoker, unwrapped, naked, throughout the entire cook. Spritz them periodically to keep them from drying out. I would argue that this is another effective way to do your ribs, especially if you don't want your ribs to be extremely fall off the bone tender. I'm not really a fan of that. I know a lot of people are, but I like to have a little bit more of a texture, better consistency with my ribs, and I think this process of not wrapping them gives you the best of both worlds, because not only are you not changing the way that your rib is cooking, but you're also maximizing the amount of smoke flavor that the rib takes on by leaving them naked throughout the entire process. So not having to go through that step of wrapping the ribs helps simplify the overall process. And to make it even easier, today I'm going to do these ribs on my new pellet grill, the Z-Grill's Backyard Warrior. Cooking on a pellet grill makes it a truly set it and forget it experience. Set the temperature that you want and let the pellet grill do the work of managing the temperature for you. And I know some of you might be thinking, hey, if you do it on a pellet grill, you're not really maximizing the smoke flavor that those ribs can take on. Well, I'm here to tell you that today's sponsor, Smokin' Pecans, they make a pellet that does maximize the amount of smoke generated by a pellet smoker. What I love about the Smokin' Pecan brand is that their pellets are made 100% from the pellet shells. I was very happy and pleased with the smoke output as well as the smoke flavor from the test video that we did, so I have no qualms about recommending this brand 100%. Check out the link in the description if you'd like to check them out. Let them know that I sent you and give it a shot. I think you'll be pleased. The first thing I want to do is get these baby back ribs cleaned up and ready. So after I take them out of the packaging, I like to use paper towels to pat them dry. I don't believe in rinsing them off in the sink because all you're doing is spreading that bacteria around in your sink, and you're just cross-contaminating everything else that comes into contact with your sink. So don't rinse off your meat in the sink. That's my opinion on that. We're going to fully cook these ribs, and by the time they come off of the smoker, they're going to be well over 185 degrees internal. So anything harmful will have already been taken care of through the cooking process. I also like to take off the shiner bones on the end. They generally don't make for good eating. You can use them for other purposes, but I'm just gonna cut these off. Now I'm also gonna take off this bone over here on the end with kind of like this meat that's flapping, hanging. Just wanna get my ribs shaped nicely, make them kind of even Take off any little loose pieces of meat that are flapping, kind of hanging. And that'll hopefully help everything cook a little bit more evenly throughout the slab of ribs. Next up, work your fingers inside. If you can, pull off that silver skin, toss it. But if you find yourself having a hard time pulling off that silver skin, you can also just take your knife and just score the backside, score the bone side with your knife. Do maybe like crosshatch, tic-tac-toe, and that'll also help that silver skin dissolve during the cook. Got another little flapper kind of hanging, get rid of that. All right, that's good enough. Next, I'm going to add a binder to help the rub stick to the meat. You don't have to use a binder. Some people feel that the binder just gets in between the rub and the meat. I don't really find that to be the case, so typically I do use a binder. Normally on ribs, baby back ribs, spare ribs, I would use mustard, but I'm out of mustard today, so I'm just gonna go with mayonnaise. You can use lots of other things, it really doesn't matter. It's all gonna dissolve away during the cook. And for today's cook, I'm trying something new. This is Suckle Buster's Hog Waller Pork and Rib Rub. On the bottle, they describe the rub as super sweet. I tasted it. It tasted pretty well balanced. It's primarily made of sea salt, sugar, and chili peppers. So I think it'll have a nice combination of spices that will go well with the baby backs. I just want to get the backside covered, but not too concerned about going overly heavy on the rib side. And then I like to just give it a nice gentle pat, and then we'll repeat the process on the other side, on the meat side. I'll return the ribs to my refrigerator and let them hang out there while I get my smoker ready. We're gonna smoke the ribs at 275 degrees, and I was able to let these ribs sit in my refrigerator for almost 3 hours, which is a pretty good amount of time. You know, if you're running short on time, at least give it 30 minutes, but 3-4 hours is optimal. You can even go overnight if you'd like. So again, we're not gonna wrap. We're just gonna let these ribs smoke naked. I'm gonna let them go for about an hour and a half before I take my first look at them, and that's when I'll decide whether or not I want to spritz. We're 2.5 hours into the cook. I'm gonna continue to check them out visually once every hour and continue to spritz. What I'm also looking for are just other signs of progress, like the pullback from the bone. And right now we can just see it just barely starting to form. So that's a visual clue that we've still got a good ways to go. All right, barbecue family, to recap, the goal for today was to keep this as simple as possible. And doing no wrap ribs is exactly that. Got those ribs on the smoker, let them go completely unwrapped at 275 degrees. Used a pellet smoker with smoking pecans to make sure that we got some really good smoke on those ribs. And the pellet smoker does the rest of the work for us of moderating the temperature, keeping it within a very close range of 275 degrees. So it's a true set it and forget it experience. After the first 1 hour and 30 minutes, at that point, I started to look in on the ribs, spritzing them, kept it simple, just spritzing with water. And then I just kept coming back every hour, just giving them another look, spritzing with water. And then at about that 4.5 hour mark, that's when I knew that these ribs were gonna be very close to ready. Pick them up, see it when they're about to completely break apart. That's when you know that they're good and ready. And they're gonna be a nice combination of tender but not mushy. The meat will not just fall off of the bone, but it will still be nice and tender, and it'll be a nice bite. So I'm excited to get into these ribs to see how they taste. I'm trying a new rub today. I used the Suckle Busters Hog Waller Pork and Rib Rub. It has a sweet and savory profile, so I'm pretty confident these ribs are gonna taste fantastic. Let's cut into them and see what we got. Here's a better look at one of the ribs, and you see it definitely has a nice smoke ring all the way around. So again, the smoking pecan pellets do a very nice job of producing good smoke for these ribs. All right, off camera is Janine. She has popped in right on time as usual, but she doesn't want to be on camera, but she does want to taste these ribs. So again, this is my first time using the Suckle Busters Hog Waller.
That's good.
Picked this up while we were in Austin last year.
It's really good. Wow. I like it.
Just as I thought, you know, it's advertised as being sweet and savory.
It is sweet.
And it's nice. It's a nice, it complements the rib very well.
Yeah.
Not too sweet, not too salty. This is really kind of what I always look for. So I think I'll definitely be using more of this rub.
I like it. Wow.
Yeah, this is good. So there it is, guys. Again, this process, it can't get much easier than this. So let me know in the comments, are you a fan of doing no wrapped ribs? Have you ever tried it, or are you willing to try it? How do you think it compares to kind of the old tried and true 3-2-1, 2-2-1, so on and so forth, those methods? I think it compares very favorably to them with a much simpler process. This is Kenyatta Robinson. Thank you for tuning in to the Backyard SmokeMaster Barbecue channel. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe. Tell a friend about us. Take care, get out there and enjoy your grills and smokers, and I'll see you in the next one.
And I would say you should give a nice shout out to that rub. It's delicious.
Okay, and before we sign off, Janine wants me to do another shout out to Suckle Busters.
Yeah.
If you guys are watching, we really like your rub.
Absolutely.
So love to hear from you if you're interested in doing some type of partnership.